Okay, I think this is set up now. Hi, everyone. Sorry this is taking me so long to come live. I appreciate you waiting. Hello, hello, hello. What's up in today's video, girl? Hey, everyone. I am so excited to be here. I have so many notes laying in front of me. I have so much I want to talk to you guys about. Obviously, you saw the title, and we're going to get into that. I also am going to be reading from Carl Jung blurb probably towards the end of this, and that's going to take a long time. It's probably going to take like 20 minutes, but it is incredible what I have to share. It's stuff you guys probably all already know, but I'm just late to the party and just trying to catch up to y'all. Where to begin? Okay, first of all, just a little astrology off the bat. Today's the last day of Aquarius season. Sun's at the final degree. Tomorrow is the beginning of Pisces season, which is going to be so great. But it is, like I said, the last day of Aquarius season, and Mercury moved into Aquarius, rather back into Aquarius, I think like 2 days ago. So my brain and the synchronicities have been just like, we have like Mercury at the very first weekend, and we have the sun at the very end, and it's about to be Pisces season, and I am about to freak out and go into the avatar state. So all these like synchronicity things were happening, and I'm really excited to see what happens when Mars and Venus, which are in a conjunction right now, and will continue all the way to like 0 degrees Aquarius. Once those two get into Aquarius, I'm really interested to see what happens, because I feel like my brain has been on fire. Also, a little bit more foreplay before we begin, because I do want to put this little pre-context out there. I wanted to mention this yesterday, but totally forgot, and it's in regards to Savannah Hernandez, who we love so much. But in the show that I had been listening to, she had commented on Heather McDonald from Juicy Scoop, which is so interesting that these two worlds found a way to collide with each other. I didn't think that would ever happen. Y'all know I am a big fan of Heather McDonald from Juicy Scoop podcast. Heather McDonald was in White Chicks, and she's like a comedian. And I've been listening to her for a long time, and she is like probably one of the only people in Los Angeles, and has been in Los Angeles for decades, that would give people like you and me a chance to talk. Okay, she is someone who, at least from what I've seen and heard, and sort of guessed in my psychic realm, she's not someone. She like got the cucarachi like way at the end when they were like forcing everyone to do it. She is like. She's not like your standard typical liberal. Okay. Yes, she probably agrees with some of the things that liberals say, but she's not like your standard person. So then you guys obviously saw like what happened, probably, because I think it made bigger news. But she was like, she just started her stand-up routine. I think she was in like Phoenix or something, and she was talking about how she got all of the cucarachis and how Jesus loves her. And then she just like fainted and hit the ground, and it was like this big thing. And so Savannah was talking about that as like most of the people on the right were talking about it in regards to like, oh, she like she defied Jesus Christ, and she's all like cucarachied. So like, of course she, I don't know. And I love Savannah so much, but like she just like got it so wrong. It was just like crazy how those two things collided. But Heather McDonald, at least from what I see, isn't one of the people that we should be like hating on. Not that it matters or anything like that, but it just like I said, it's gonna just like frame as like a sort of a pre-context what I'm about to discuss, because I too can get it like so wrong. But these are just like my original thoughts. Love Savannah so much, and it's not like a big deal, but I'm sticking up for Heather McDonald from the Juicy Scoop, because she is one of the few people out there, like I said, that would even listen to some people like us talk, okay, and has lived in Los Angeles for like 40 years. So I think that's enough to be willow wallowing. So yes, I watched the Louis Theroux, is that how you say his name, documentary. Or at least what I assume is like part one of, it looked like 3 parts, whatever was on BitChute. I'm cheap. Someone said it was behind a paywall, but I'm like, I'm not fucking paying for that. Are you kidding me? But so many thoughts. At first, you guys saw, I was sort of like, just that first like 10 seconds I had watched on my live stream yesterday, and I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. And it did suck in this, just like in the way that like sort of documentaries are produced, etc. It just reeked of so much of what we don't even in that direction. But I then when I was watching it, I was sort of picking up on like why everyone in the chat during my stream yesterday was like, "Did you watch this? Did you watch this?" Because so many, at least I felt, so many of the points that I had been making yesterday were then like reiterated and validated and qualified from these American firsters. And I don't agree with like everything they say. We'll get into that, of course. But I was like, holy cow! Either this is like a massive echo chamber I'm in, or um, maybe like we're sort of picking up on like something that's out there in the collective and we're just pulling it down and commenting on it, because I, like you guys know, I like have been really shielding myself from the news, and I don't watch, I don't mind these people, but I don't like watch Nick Fuentes. I don't watch, you know, I have no idea what their opinions are on so many subjects. I just know sort of the America First thing. So I just wanted to put that out there first, because again, like Savannah Hernandez, we can get it so wrong, but we also can get it so fucking right. So where do I begin? First of all, okay, yes, watched the thing, and then I also watched Ramsey's video on it. He reviewed it, and I have to say I agree with Ramsey. I love him so much on just at the get go of how Louis Theroux has like no idea. He has no idea whatsoever. No, like there is such a disconnect between like the world he lives and then the world of like, I don't know, call it like elitism or like just being in different like echo chambers maybe. I don't really know, but I was like very very surprised that he had like no idea. He just like didn't know, and then you start asking like people questions, okay, and let's like, are you a white nationalist? And it's like, who the fuck would like ask? Okay, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But yes, the two different worlds. I have never heard of this Louis Theroux guy. It's uh, I I was like, okay, what are the chances that he's Jewish? I don't think he's Jewish, but then I was thinking like more about it, and I'm like, um, he seems kind of like a homosexual. Maybe, I don't know, but like I just feel like I know exactly what like the skin on his back looks like. I know what he smells like. I feel like I know like I just like this Louis person. I was just like, he doesn't seem like a very good guy to me. And this is again just like right off the bat my initial thoughts, and that seemed to be reiterated sometime in the video, which we'll get to with that Beardson guy. Um, but what else do I want to say about this? So I thought Nick Fuentes came off really, really well. Again, I think he's so cute, him and Baked, and even Beardson. The people, the energy there and their little group or whatever, they're hot. Okay, they're hot. The Beardson guy, I was like, where have I seen him before? And then I remembered it was in that Milo video from like a couple months ago. Do you guys remember that, where they were talking about like Pokemon cards or something? Um, and I didn't recognize him because the beard had changed, like the facial hair, and he just sort of like shaved a little bit. And I was like, wow, you clean up well. I don't know what his name is other than the beard thing. So I was like, okay, so we're like so much hotter than these people. We're so much cooler than these people. We're so much smarter than these people. So it's like, what is the problem? You know? It Okay, Nick Fuentes is great. I like agreed with his approach to things. The and I get with the women thing, like I totally agree with them. They do tend to crack under pressure, and they can cause like unnecessary trouble. Just by their presence alone. That's because women are very powerful, especially like with emotions, and it's best to keep that power, separated, especially when you're trying to focus. It's just like, again, being a little Catholic boy in private school. Like, it's a lot easier to focus when you're not dealing with all of that other energy. It's not wrong. It's not bad. No one's doing anything awful. It's just we have been bamboozled by the world into thinking that men and women are the same and should behave the same. We all know this. We all know this. So I was happy with like those comments, but it was for some reason, I guess I haven't really heard the word immigration in a while, and that sort of like reawakened that conversation in my head, because I was like, oh, that's right. I don't want immigration in this country. I just kind of assumed like we've had so many people, like hundreds of thousands, millions, in 2021 alone, just like walking into our country. I was just sort of like threw my hands up in the air with the immigration thing. But I was like, okay, if we're going to pretend the whole voting thing is still a thing, then yeah, I'm not like in favor of immigration at all. So yeah, I agree with a lot of things they say. I And this is the point I want to talk about, especially in regards to taking this movement into a different direction, like spiritually. Maybe not a different direction, but a deeper direction. And this really comes down to like there was like a clip in the footage of like one of the, I don't know if it was like Charlottesville or January 6th or some, you know how they like cut everything together to make it just look a certain way. Um, there was like this chanting as in a group, like Christ is King, Christ is King, Christ is King, and y'all know I appreciate the Catholicism, and we've talked about this so many different times, but I really don't think. I don't disagree about like if you want to call America like Christian, like you call it whatever you want. I don't really care what its history was per se, but I want to know where it is today and where it's going to go. And I just really don't know about this whole Christ is King type thing. Like I try to get connected into that like consciousness and like it's nice that there's like a set of rules and like a moral code of conduct that you don't have to figure out for yourself. It's already laid out for you and you can just sort of like digest it as you will and see fit. But again, it's like it's like a religion and a practice of a people that are not related to me whatsoever. It's from like another part of the world, Um, that like I have like no connection to other than like being forced to convert at some point in the history line by the point of sword, or maybe my ancestors did it willingly. I don't know, but the Christ is King chanting. I just like there's something about that just doesn't feel like that's the direction we're supposed to go in. Maybe again that's just me, but I really think there's a cooler, like a genuinely like cooler, deeper spiritual river that we can tie into. That's not. It can include that if you want it, but it's just not that. And as we're going to see when I read this like brief bit from Jung, um, the blonde, blue-eyed Jesus is something I could maybe like get around so that it like looks like me, but like connecting to someone, so like some Jew from like the deserts of Bethlehem, like it's just like not where my soul is ever gonna go. I just and maybe that's just me being like a precious little flower. Again, I wish I could get into the Christianity thing. I have been inundated in it, since birth, and it just like won't click for me. And I wish in a way it could because I could just be like everyone else. You sort of fall into it, and I appreciate the poetry, but these men are like so young and so fresh and so cool and so hot. I just don't think that the Crisis King direction, we can include it, of course, is the way to go. And when I read this, the thing, not, spoiler alert, it's on Carl Jung's uh, his writing on the concept of the Wotan. Am I pronouncing that right? Archetype, Wotan. And we're gonna have to start using like a whole bunch of different like acronyms here because we're gonna be talking about H, H is an HIT, da la 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 la, and all of that stuff. And you guys know, I'm not a World War II person. Really, all of that content, I've always sort of veered away from. Y'all know I'm in love with World War One and all of the people involved in that. Like love that history so much, but World War II, as we know, didn't much like Christianity. It never really like had an effect on me. Even like yesterday at the bar, this one girl, she's like going to Maryland or something for the weekend, and she's going to visit. She's so excited to go visit this Holocaust museum, and I'm like, okay, and I'm just so excited to go to the Holocaust museum. And I've been to Germany. I've been to a couple different World War II sort of sites. I don't want to use the word here, but it just again, it was like chilling and sort of gross, but at the same time, it just like something about it never like really made an impression on me. Um, and she's like so excited. She like loves the history. And I have another friend who really loves World War II and all that. So no shade, no disrespect, but I'm a bigger fan of World War One. Where was I going with that? I don't know. I think we were talking about the Christ is King bit, blonde, blue-eyed Jesus. Um, yeah. Let's keep going. I thought it was interesting. The commentary, it wasn't even commentary. It was just like a brief thing on. This is like goes totally beyond the American First Movement, but the like internet versus reality, and when does it speaks a lot to. I'm not really into like the trolling so much. Like I don't understand it. Love meme culture, of course, but like the trolling is. I'm just like too dumb to get it a lot of the time. So yeah, the whole concept of like internet life versus like real life, and when those two boundaries sort of like augment and fuse and dissolve each other, I think that's really interesting in relation to the movement. I think that's really cool. Um, but there was a girl in it. I think her name was Brittany something. I just have Brittany, and I have no idea who this is, literally. But I thought she was pretty. I thought she was cool. I didn't know she was like an America Firster. Brittany something. I have to watch it again, but she seemed cool. She seemed nice. She seemed to get it. It's always refreshing when a female gets it. Like there's a working class girl that I work with who's very young, and she gets it, especially the race stuff. Like she fucking gets it, and that's like always so refreshing when you hear that. Let me think here. Where do we want to go next? So I thought Nick came off well. I thought Baked Alaska came off well. You know, Baked Alaska. He yeah, very hot, very good looking guy. But I was like, wow, his brows are like more manicured than mine are. And I'm like, brother, what's going on with that? And like Beardson, you know, I kind of thought it was, I wouldn't have like put up with the bullshit either. It's like I have other shit to do. You know, I'd rather go and do that than sit here and listen to talk to you. So I would have liked to just like hear more about Beardson's like point of view. But I don't know. I don't know. I want to say he came off bad per se, but I will say I'm not necessarily a fan of like walking away and then going on the internet to bitch about it. I'm more of like a face to face, like I don't know. That's more like my approach, but you know, who knows? Who knows? But this is a concept that I want to talk about. One last thing on that. Nick et al. I thought they came off well. I thought if you're watching that documentary and you're supposed to like hate them, I'm like watching this. I think it does better, more to promote them than anything. I was like, this is like good. You know, this is a really good thing that this guy did this documentary. Especially as a lot of this content is so censored and banned that you don't see it unless you specifically go to the dark edges of the internet to find it. So I thought they came off well. Even the Beardson guy, I'm like, this is a good thing. So I'm very happy I watched it. But it reawakened some other convos I wanted to have. And if you've been around for a long time, you know that I have always sort of been hesitant, if we want to use that word. Hesitant as how do we want to approach this? Like the whole white thing, like self-labeling as white. Like I would rather self-label as like Aryan. I know that's sort of like an outdated term and no one really uses it, but white, it's just like vocally, it's just like very like short. It's like saying it's like the difference between like dear and cherie, you know. And there's like a different like inflection in the voice. I think Aryan is a much more beautiful word. I think that you can like really get into a deeper spiritual connection with that if it's going to be like your identity. All of them sort of like shied away from like, no, I'm not a white nationalist, and no, I'm not. But and I'm first of all, yeah, I don't know, I don't know. I toyed with even online in the beginning, just trying to like self-label under like Targaryen or something because I was like really uncomfortable with using the term white, and it still like doesn't fit. Again, I still prefer the word Aryan, but I wouldn't mind like this is like something you at least I never see. Again, I'm very sheltered, and you guys know the people that I listen to. So maybe other people talk about this, and I just don't know. Maybe Jared Taylor does again, but I don't like really hear anyone. There's never like any like spirituality connected with the racial identity. It's like first, if you're like awake enough to understand the racial thing is like one thing, but then there's like this like way that it's like approached that like you can never derive any sort of depth from it, and I think it might be in the vocabulary in like using the word white possibly, but I think there's like a deeper thing happening there, and I think it's maybe best if I just read from the Young excerpt. I think that'll make this a lot more clear what I'm trying to say, but let me just check in on some of the comments quick, so that we can sort of keep it moving because y'all know how retarded and ADD I get. La, 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 la. Jaden is funny too. Who is Jaden? Is he another one of these people? Because I need to know who these people are. So I know what I'm talking about. He works for, okay, so Louis works for the BBC, which is state propaganda. Yes. The documentary made them look like normal people. I kind of thought so too. I'm like, he's like, oh, these things are so anti-Semitic and homophobic and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? And even if like, but it's like, who cares? That's just like that, just how they are. It's like, oh my gosh, how dare they don't act in this? Like, it's just like crazy. I wonder if Adam took his pants off again today. No homo. No, I do have sweatpants on right now. I just got back from the bar a little bit ago, and I just threw this on. Sorry to disappoint you, even though I liked his statement about white people will not be bullied anymore. I've noticed my friends are less into the white guilt stuff too. Yeah, I don't know if I would have used the word bullied personally, because I know what part of the video you're talking about, because I feel like that word has different connotations nowadays, especially because it's like, no, you're not being bullied. You just have like no self-esteem. I don't know. I think there's like a different. I think just maybe like white people are maybe not taking it up the ass would have been more appropriate. But Nick Fuentes is like a generation lower than me, so. I don't know. It might just be like a vocabulary thing. But the white guilt thing, people still like get confused with like the privilege part of it. And I've said from the beginning, I don't think there exists this idea really of any type of like racial privilege or economic privilege even. It's really comes down to just aesthetic. Like beauty is really the only privilege, in my opinion, in this reality. You are more than welcome to disagree. I don't really care. But I don't really see like race or economics or anything like that as a privilege per se. So when like white people like start to the group that I'm trying to break into, we had like this big Zoom call on Monday, and this is where like the people were like again doing the whole like white privilege thing, and I'm like, why are you even like talking like that? Because we were a group of like all white people, and I'm like, did you feel like the need to like call? I don't know. It was weird. Mike Floyd, I'm Mexican, FYI. You're Mexican, Mike Floyd. Speaking of Hispanics, I like went into the gas station this morning on my way to the barn because I had to do, my morning digestion quick, and I like burst into the bathroom, and I'm like, I like head for a stall, and there's like one that's the door is like not closed. I don't think anyone's in it. Like I open it, and they're like sitting on the toilet right in front of me is this sweaty Hispanic man, just gross. He has like a mask on, and he's like sitting there, and he like looks up at me. And so I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry, man. And I close the door, but he's like sitting there with like his mask on and his like beady brown little eyes and just like sweating, taking a shit. I was like, good, buenos dias, senor. Um, yeah, I had Spanish. I can like, it's probably the only other language that I'm somewhat decent at. I'm not a Semite and won't worship. Okay, Adam, you are a heritage American or a Westman, as Jason Cohen says. That Aryan does sound cooler. It rolls off the tongue well. Aryan is an optical like visual, or optical. You mean like, I don't know. It's the optic stuff. I think we're gonna have to sort of get over. People have commented, like, oh, the Confederate flag and stuff like that. Like, I'm just like, I know these are powerful symbols to some people, but I don't know. I don't even think if you said like the word Aryan to like the normal I think people would more be triggered with the word white than Aryan. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna keep moving because otherwise we're not gonna. You know how my brain works. Okay, so we're gonna read from something called Wotan, if I'm pronouncing that again right. I don't know if it's like W or if it's like a V sound, but this is by Carl Jung. Okay, and this is in 1936. All right, this is written like 90 years ago, and it is one of the most modern contemporary things, ways of thinking that I have read in a very, very, very long time. I'm not an orator. I'm not someone who's good at like speaking. I just have my gay little, my gay little voice. So I apologize if this doesn't sound great. But it's the information that I think is going to be most like, whoa. And I definitely want to have a conversation once we get through this at the end. Maybe I'll just stop here and there and comment, but There's a poem at the beginning of it called Havamal from the Poetic Edda. It's very good. I'm going to maybe read it at the end if you want me to. It's just a couple stanzas. But this is Carl Jung now. So I'm just going to start reading. All right. When we look back to the time before 1914, we find ourselves living in a world of events which would have been inconceivable before the war. We were even beginning to regard war between civilized nations as a fable, thinking that such an absurdity would become less and less possible in our rational, internationally organized world. And what came after the war was a veritable witches' Sabbath. We shall have to wait some time before anyone is able to assess the kind of age that we are living in. What is more than curious, indeed, piquant to a degree, is that an ancient god of storm and frenzy, the long quiescent, I can never say that word, quiescent, Wotan, should awake, like an extinct volcano, to new activity in a civilized country that had long been supposed to have been outgrown the Middle Ages. We have seen him come to life in the German youth movement. Armed with rucksack and loot, blonde youths, and sometimes girls as well, were to be seen as restless wanderers on every road from North Cape to Sicily, faithful votaries of the roving god. Later, towards the end of the Weimar Republic, the wandering role was taken over by thousands of unemployed, who were to be met with everywhere on their aimless journeys. By 1933, they wandered no longer, but marched in the hundreds of thousands. The H movement literally brought the whole of Germany to its feet, from 5-year-olds to veterans, and produced a spectacle of a nation migrating from one place to another. Wotan was the wanderer. Wotan was the one on the move. Wotan is a restless wanderer who creates unrest and stirs up strife, now here, now there, and works magic. He was soon changed by Christianity into the devil, and only lived on in fading local traditions as a ghostly hunter who was seen with his retinue flickering like a will-o'-wisp through the stormy night. In the Middle Ages, the role of the restless wanderer was taken over by Ahasuerus, the wandering Jew, which is not a Jewish but a Christian legend. The motif of the wanderer who has not accepted Christ was projected on the Jews in the same way as we always rediscover our unconscious psychic contents in other people. At any rate, the coincidence of anti-Semitism with the reawakening of Wotan is a psychological subtlety that may perhaps be worth mentioning. Just an aside there, I think that is fascinating. The German youth who celebrated the solstice with sheep sacrifices were not the first to hear the rustling in the primeval forest of the unconscious. They were anticipated by Nietzsche. Every interpretation of intoxication and exuberance is apt to be taken back to classical models, to Dionysus, to the pure Eternus, and the cosmogonic Eros. No doubt it sounds better to academic ears to interpret these things as Dionysian, but Wotan might be a bit more correct interpretation. He is the god of the storm and frenzy, the unleasher of passions, and the lust of battle. Moreover, he is a superlative magician, an artist in illusion, who is versed in all secrets of an occult nature. Let's see here. Scrolling through another poem. I'll read these at the end. Okay. As he was wandering in a gloomy wood at night, he was terrified. Oh, okay. Sorry, that's part of the. Getting to it now. Wotan disappeared when his oaks fell and appeared again when the Christian god proved too weak to save Christendom from fratricidal slaughter. We are always convinced that the modern world is a reasonable world, basing our opinion on economic, political, and psychological factors. In fact, I venture the heretical suggestion that the unfathomable depths of Wotan's character explain more about national socialism than all three reasonable factors put together. There is no doubt that each of these factors explains an important aspect of what is going on in Germany, but Wotan explains yet more. He is particularly enlightening in the regard to a general phenomenon, which is so strange to anybody not a German that it remains incomprehensible, even after the deepest reflection. Perhaps we may sum up this general phenomenon as Ergriffenheit, a state of being seized or possessed. The term postulates not only an Ergriffener who is seized, but also as an Ergriffier who seizes. Wotan is an Ergriffier of men, and unless one wishes to defy Hitler, which is indeed actually what happened, he is really the only explanation. It is true that Wotan shares this quality with his cousin Dionysus, but Dionysus seems to have exercised his influence mainly on women. A mind that is still childish thinks of the gods as metaphysical entities existing in their own right, or else regards them as playful or superstitious inventions. From either point of view, the parallel between Wotan and the social, political, and psychic storm that is shaking Germany might have at least the value of a parable. But since the gods are without doubt personifications of psychic forces, to assert their metaphysical existence is as much an intellectual presumption as the opinion that they could ever be invented. Not that psychic forces have anything to do with the conscious mind. Fond as we are of playing with the idea that consciousness and psyche are identical, this is only another piece of intellectual presumption. Psychic forces have far more to do with the realm of the unconscious. Our mania for rational explanations obviously has its roots in our fear of metaphysics, for the two are always hostile brothers. Hence, anything unexpected that approaches us from the dark realm is regarded as either coming from the outside and therefore as real, or else as a hallucination and therefore not true. The idea that anything could be real or true which does not come from the outside has hardly begun to dawn on contemporary man. That is huge right there. The emphasis on the German race, commonly called Aryan, the Germanic heritage, blood and soil, the Wagalavia songs, the Ride of the Valkyries, Jesus as a blonde, blue-eyed hero, the Greek mother of St. Paul, the devil as an international Alberic in Jewish or Masonic guise, the Nordic Aurora Borealis as the light of civilization, the inferior Mediterranean races. All of this is the indispensable scenery for the drama that is taking place, and at the bottom they all mean the same thing. A god has taken possession of Germans, and their house is filled with a mighty rushing wind. It is above all it's almost done, by the way. It is above all the Germans who have an opportunity, perhaps unique in history, to look into their own hearts and to learn what those perils of the soul were from which Christianity tried to rescue mankind. It is an elemental Dionysus breaking into the Apollonian order. The rouser of this tempest is named Wotan. Because of the behavior of a race takes on its specific character from its underlying images, we can speak of an archetype. Wotan as an archetype. As an autonomous psychic factor, Wotan produces effects in the collective life of people and therefore reveals his own nature. For Wotan has a particular biology of his own, quite apart from the nature of man. It is only from time to time that individuals fall under the irresistible influence of this unconscious factor. When it is here's that word again. When it is quiescent, that might be it, quiescent, one who is no more aware of the archetype Wotan than of a latent epilepsy. Wotan is not only a god of rage and frenzy who embodies the instinctual and emotional aspect of the unconscious, its intuitive and inspiring side also manifests itself in him, for he understands the ruins and can interpret fate. It was not in Wotan's nature to linger on and show signs of old age. He simply disappeared when the times turned against him and remained invisible for more than 1,000 years, working anonymously and indirectly. Archetypes are like riverbeds. Okay, this is important, everybody. Listen, okay? Archetypes are like riverbeds which dry up when the water deserts them, but which it can find again at any time. An archetype is like an old watercourse along which the water of life has flowed for centuries, digging a deep channel for itself. The longer it has flowed in this channel, the more likely it is that sooner or later the water will return to its old bed. Political events move from one impasse to the next, like a torrent caught in gullies, creeks, and marshes. All human control comes to an end when the individual is caught in a mass movement. Then the archetypes begin to function, as happens also in the lives of individuals when they are confronted with situations that they cannot be dealt with in any of the familiar ways. Wotan's reawakening is a stepping back into the past. The stream was dammed up and has broken into its old channel. Okay, thank you for letting me butcher through that. But isn't that so cool? I'm like, holy shit, is that what is sort of beginning right now energetically? I don't know, but I'm going to quick add on this part before I comment further. This is just like a comment from someone I found online, but it's very interesting to coincide with what I just read to you. Jung is usually called anti-Semitic because of a handful of comments he made describing the cultural difference between Western Europeans versus Eastern Europeans versus the Jews. None of these comments should be taken as anti-Semitic. As he clearly says, this has been his experience with his patients. The first The worst thing he says about the Jewish people is that their culture seems to be more differentiated than the European culture, which means that though they can dominate in any other culture's economic system, they will rarely produce economic evolutions in that culture. In other words, they can dominate another's creation, but are unlikely to revolutionize that creation. I can't fathom why this is considered an insult. In the same conversation, Young said that while Europeans are more likely to be inventors, great artists, great writers, and founders of culture, they are also most likely to be psychopaths, drug addicts, and overall losers. Um, for anyone who's like read all of Camille Paglia, this should all make a lot of sense to you, especially, yeah, I don't know. So, what do you all think of that? I think it's so interesting. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? I love the idea of, again, delving deeper into like sort of the consciousness and the unconsciousness of like what's going on here, and I just feel like short circuiting it with the Christ is King, with the just like the white. Uh, I feel like we are really missing out on something really cool that's happening like right in front of our eyes potentially. So that's just like sort of my loose argument right now as to why I continually want to move away from some of this terminology. Um, Again, we can be inclusive of it, but to use it as like the top of the pyramid, I just think we're going to be missing something really fucking cool, especially as we approach. Okay, like I said, Pisces season starts tomorrow, and then like we're approaching this Jupiter Neptune conjunction in Pisces, on 420, I think. So there's going to be I think this whole conversation around what I'm talking about right now is going to be potentially a topic that comes up because. I don't know. I'm just a curious person. I'm interested and like fascinated and like the psychology behind like all of this, and I just want to see how it plays out, and but most people like can't even hear the terminology that we used in discussing like German use, without like going crazy in their programming. So I think there's definitely something there. I'm gonna quick read the poem that was at the beginning because I just think it's like really good. Again, it's called Havamal. um, I know that I hung on a windy tree 9 long nights, wounded with a spear, dedicated to Odin, myself to myself. On that tree, the world ash Yggdrasil, of which no man knows from where its roots run. No bread did they give me, nor a drink of mead from a horn. Downwards I peered, I took up the ruins, screaming I took them, then I fell back from there. I don't know, I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so where else do I want to go with this? Okay, so the Wotan, he really describes it as this like storm and frenzy god, and this sort of like this rushing wind concept. And I have to say that seems to go like lock and key with the whole concept and um, connection to like horses, between like this people and the psychology of a horse. Remember, the soul of the human is supposed to be called like the wind horse, like the wind spirit. There's like crazy bridges between man and horse, and I have this weird feeling that that psychology of just like what he describes as the wotan, I think that can also happen in horses. um they sort of just get caught in something, and then they just, it's literally a frenzy, and you just sort of destroy everything. um and then it all settles down again. And I don't know. I think this stuff is like really cool. This sort of like, would you call this a cult or esoteric? I don't know. But what I find is like we tend to go in this like concert, like here's like this awesome opportunity, but we're going back down this road that leads to nowhere with some of this stuff. And um I don't know. I think there's something cooler going on here. So let me just like read a couple more comments, and then I have some pop culture news I want to talk about. Okay, I want us to be better looking, physically fit, and emotionally better. An entire revamp. Yes, I totally agree. I implore all the time to make sure you work on yourselves, to heal yourselves, to put yourself in the best possible position for destiny. Because when destiny happens, you want to be looking good. Okay, and I don't know. Not that you have to be like attractive or any. I just, in a world that has praised ugliness from like the time I was born, it's so refreshing to see oh my gosh, all the cool people that get it and are good looking are like gravitating here. It says it all. Heritage American, it just like I've heard people use that as well. Uh Not my favorite. I like the word heritage, and American is fine, but I'm like, why don't we like elevate it and add another head to the eagle or something, or like the condor and the eagle? I don't know. My family has been in America since the 1700s. Yeah, see, that's another thing. I feel like almost okay. I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here for a minute, because my mental capacity to hold up this boundary is dissolving as I speak. But I almost feel like my entire um, purpose and like presence and like being here on YouTube is to somehow find this connection between the Tartaria world and sort of the how do we describe it? We'll just put it in like the no white guilt Ramsey Paul corner. Okay, it's like these two pieces of the puzzle that keep missing each other somehow. Okay, you have all of this like crazy imagination and like concepts of like a free energy and like really just like out there, just like brilliant thinking. Okay, that does have to involve the esoteric and the occult and like things that aren't just like wood crosses and whitey tidies. Okay, like this, like there's like other stuff going on here. But then you get on the sort of like conservative, like white alternative right side, and it's just like the Christ thing, and it's just like blanketed like the bull like running straight ahead. All that other stuff is seen as like gay and just like psychobabble. And I'm like, no, these are the two worlds that somehow need to figure out how to join, because I think when that happens, baby, I think life is going to get really cool. La, 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 la. My family is descended from Spanish colonists. That's pretty hot. I always loved like the Spanish and like the Portuguese. I think they're great. I suppose I know BPS did a video where you could tell what a person's political views are based on looks to an extent. Yes, I do love a good surprise. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's ever happened to me, but like the purple hair, like knit wearing people. I'm waiting to like run into one of them that shares some of what I'm talking about. Somebody said yesterday the philosophy is nothing but mental masturbation. Um, Maybe, Adam, you need to do a Zoom call with us so these can be more interactive. My friend slept over. She is still here lying asleep. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm gonna go to the gun range today so I can teach you how to shoot. You're Mike Floyd. You're fucking hot, man. That's cool. I hope you guys had fun. I'm gonna take my mom. I'm just gonna stop reading there for a second. I'm sorry. I can't have that on my YouTube channel. I'm already getting flagged to the house right now. Where do we want to go? Jared Taylor had said, save the whales. If you want to save the whales, you have to save white people. But I think if you want to save white people, you really need to figure out a way to reawaken the white man, right? I just have that written down. Also, in regards, we haven't talked about this in a while, and I love that so much. But the whole like fake pancake kukarachi, virus. We've talked about this, I'm pretty sure, before, but everyone's always like, this is either like you have to kill the virus or the virus is still alive. And they use these terms like dead or alive in regards to a virus. I'm still making up my mind on what I think about the whole concept of viruses. I don't even really know if it's just like a frequency. If it's, I don't really think it exists. I'm not opposed to like the idea of bacteria, but viruses are something different. And I always remember in like freshman level biology, there's always this one part of the year where you have to sit there and you have to memorize like the qualifications for something to be considered alive. Okay. And they were like being able to maintain equilibrium, some sort of like homeostasis, reproduction. There's like there were like 7 or 8 of them, weren't they? That they had to be met for something to be considered alive. And viruses that don't meet, they meet like 3 or 4 of the qualifications, but they're not dead and they're not alive. What they are, and this is what blew my mind yesterday because it's so simple, but it's just an on and off switch. It's not like the virus is alive or the virus is dead. It's just if the virus is like turned on or the virus is turned off, which is a very, very different concept. Okay. I know those two things might seem that you could just like swim them together, but between being alive, something like you and me, something with blood going through us, prana going through us, there's a whole life force thing happening. First is this type of thing that needs to be powered, okay, this cold, hollow technology that needs to be powered, okay, and turned on and turned off. It's not natural, it's not of this world. And that's what makes me think that the whole VARUS thing, like, really is, there is the probability that that is something that we have been maybe bamboozled on. I don't know. Again, I'm not opposed to like bacteria being real. That makes sense to me. But the other thing, I don't know. And again, when I say being real, I mean like not man-made. So I'm probably the only one who cares about that. But okay. The other thing is I am starting to see the beginnings of people on the left critiquing sort of the whole current Kukarachi mandates and all of this type of thing. As more and more data comes out about the health effects of taking certain Kukarachis, the heart issues, etc., and more of that data becomes apparent. What I'm seeing these people on the left and the right, because remember, a lot of the people on the right love the whole Kukarachi so much, and so what I'm seeing happen for them to like justify their reality is they're going to blame it on Trump because Trump rushed this through. It was not like the mandates or anything like that. It was the fact that because Trump was the original one, what was it, like warp speed or something, that rushed them through and got this like speed and bragged about the speed. I can like see the headlines now, about how this is like Trump's fault because he rushed this. And if he just wouldn't have rushed it and just like let it, work itself out and have Biden take the job, take control of the FDA, as if those two, you know what I'm saying? Okay, and that's what I would guess things that are going to go in as we sort of start to see the more and more fallout of this whole narrative. But speaking of Donald Trump, in pop culture news, I find it really interesting that Kathy Hilton, for all of you who are familiar, Kathy Hilton, the mother of Paris Hilton, wife of the Hilton as far as like the hotels. I'm pretty sure they sold them, but Kathy Hilton, like the Kathy Hilton, if you're a fan of RHOBH, Kathy Hilton is great. We love her so much. And it was interesting because they were talking about this on I think it was the Juicy Scoop podcast, how Kathy Hilton went to Mar-a-Lago to watch the Super Bowl. She like didn't go to a different party. She just went to Mar-a-Lago and was there with like Trump and everybody. And I think that's interesting, because Kathy Hilton has a lot of stands, a lot of like woke stands. So I'm thinking, is it Kathy Hilton that's going to sort of break up, some of this energy and censorship here? Because like power is so interesting, and her being Kathy Hilton, I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting that she went to Mar-a-Lago to go watch the Super Bowl, and I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens there. But that is like a lot of the things I wanted to say. Am I missing anything? Oh, the Wotan, like that energy, that spirit. For some reason, what like image I get in my head of it too is, for anyone who's seen Avatar: Legend of Korra, I'm thinking of specifically season 3, like the 2 final episodes where Korra is sort of like chained up in that like ancient cave, going in and out of like the Avatar spirit, going into this like berserk sort of mode. And that's like immediately the image that came to my mind. And I remember when I first saw that episode, probably 10 years ago now. I remember how much profound impact that sort of imagery and scene had on my mind, and I wasn't sure why. But now that these pieces are coming together, I'm like, is that what the whole Wotan thing is like? I don't know. Anyways, let me just read these last couple comments, and then I really need to go. I need to eat something. I'm fucking hungry. I need to shower. So let's see here. Jared Taylor is the GOAT. Yeah, Jared Taylor's great. We love him so much. Okay, let's hear a trashy personal story. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Yes, you give us. I know you guys want the story, but I think I'm just gonna have to do like a Patreon, and it's gonna be like literally like a $20 like. You want to hear this? It's like, I yeah, just to yeah. So if that's something like genuinely you guys are interested in, I was kind of like kidding, but I like to talk. The data has been around for 2 years. The leftist doesn't want to lose elections. Yes, the data's been from day one. The data's been around. I'm talking more data releases as far as like the pharmaceutical companies themselves being like, this is what I don't know. It's all shady the house, they don't want to lose elections, but it's also, remember, election as in electricity. Okay, you electrify people into power. There's that word power, electrify people into power. Okay, so they don't want to lose that and the power. Remember, we're in the age of Aquarius, is with the people. These people up here, they don't. I know we hear this like lingo all the time, but they really don't have anything. It's like we're giving it to them. So quite honestly, if people just like wouldn't vote, and there was like a mass, okay, only 10,000 people voted in a federal election. It's like they literally don't have the electricity to assume power in a way. I think that might be a better way to go about it than trying to hold our breath and just pray that this election isn't being meddled with, and not being like black pilled about it. It's just, I think there are possible other ways around this that we just need to open our mind to, instead of going into this. I don't want to blame everything on the boomers, but it's really this like boomer mindset that we're still fucking stuck in. But yeah, midwit truckery. I love that herd immunity and natural immunity are being talked about. It's amazing. Um, yeah, yeah. A herd immunity. That's like interesting language there. The herd part of it, especially I think herd of horses, um, which is like a very famous like painting. Lascaux, France, those cave paintings. I'm pretty sure it's called Herd of Horses. Am I wrong? I'm not a big fan of, again, that whole like art, the art record, just like the regular historical record is like so muddied. But herd, we do have this north node in Taurus, as I keep talking about, and Taurus, like the bull market, like a herd of bulls. Like and especially in regards to immunity, because I know in Vedic astrology, the whole Taurus Scorpio dichotomy is big on the healing part. So yeah, herd immunity, natural immunity, AIDS, it's all the same thing, right? uh Rich, love you so much, Rockshot. I'll make my own love you so much merch the mail. Legend of Korra sucks. They should have done a series based on the comics. Um, you didn't like Legend of Korra? I thought the third season was really well done. Like just first, there's something in the third season, not just the scene that I described, but the whole. I thought season 3 was like really cool. It pushed on concepts that aren't really seen, at least in like Western animated shows. Season 4 was okay, and season 2 was okay. Season 1 was probably my least favorite, but season 3 of Korra, I think, is really well done. You will buy a shirt. Is what my t-shirts. When I said I would make like a t-shirt and like hand paint it and like do something cool that way and just make one-offs, but I'm not gonna do like a merch thing. I don't really have the. I gotta honestly say, I think there are probably like genuinely like maybe 7 to 15 people that like are real and follow me. I think the rest of the number is just like algorithmic like fluffing, or just like not real. I just like assume that I'm talking to like right around like 15 people usually, maybe less, probably less. I just assume everyone else is like just like CIA or like something, just like screen recording me. I assume that's like probably 100 of my subscribers. I think like the rest of them are like bots, just like bots, not even like Russian bots, Russian sexy bots. Just like put one on each of my teeth and just have them suckle. No, the bots, all of that. I just want to assume that it's about, yeah, about like 7 to 15 people. So I would make like a hand done t-shirt for about that number of people. I think that would be kind of cool. You know, back in the day, 10 years ago when I was in my fashion phase, I used to like make so many of my own clothes, and some of the stuff that I like came up with was so fucking cool. And maybe I'll get into that again. I don't know. Um, sounds like the White Lotus are kind of like Q. Iroh was the QAnon shaman. I fucking loved Iroh. He has so many good quotes. I think I used one of his quotes in the vlog that I'm trying to put together. I love Iroh. The White Lotus are kind of like Q. Is the QAnon thing still? Okay, let me go to what was the QAnon site? It was like QAnon.hub. Was that it? It's been years. Oh my god, I think that's right. Yeah, December 8th, 2020 is still the last time that ever posted. Is the Q thing still a thing? InfoWars now. Put the rebel flag on it. That's what I was gonna get out of my head, Mike Floyd. It was gonna be like, yeah, the rebel flag would be cool with maybe some like quotes or something. What was the quote that you said yesterday? I don't remember. Hi from Melbourne, Australia. It's 5 a.m. here. Matt Dahl. I have an Australian on. I want to visit Australia so bad. You guys have the best sense of humor in the entire world, the entire flat world. Okay, the Australians and to some extent the Kiwis, their sense of humor. I don't know if it's because of the insularity of being on an island or what, but you guys fucking get it, and I have been so impressed with the content that comes out of Australia, of a comedic sense that nothing. I was born in '92. Nothing that I've seen really compares to it. So hi, Matt Dahl. We love our bot so much. QAnon is still going. What the fuck? It was like Operation Trust in Russia before Stalin took over. Good idea for a shirt, Mike. You guys are great. Okay. I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about. I probably made 0 sense. And that's it. When these like things, these thoughts come in, I feel like dot connection, dot connection, dot connection, dot connection, and everything like feels like it makes sense. And then I go to like talk about it, and I feel like I lack the vocabulary or something. Like I can't like paint a picture of what I'm trying to say. But thank you for hanging in there and staying with me, and listening to this gay psychobabble. Another rant, another hour-long rant about. What did we talk about again today? Oh, the Louis Theroux thing. Yes. Thank you guys for that suggestion. I'm so happy I watched that. I'm happy I got through it. It really inspired me in a way because I was like, okay, I'm A, not as crazy as I thought I was, and B, like there is some really cool energy here. That's where the cool people are. That's what the cool kids are. Not that you have to be a cool kid, but like that's really where the energy seems to be going. So I'm happy I watched that. What else did we talk about today? That was like the big chunk of it. The Wotan thing. I'm gonna put. Should I put a link to that? What I was reading from. I'm gonna link it in the chat right now, just in case someone wanted to read through it without my gay ass audio all over it. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. Really cool concept, especially the part. What did they say about the yeah. At any rate, the coincidence of anti-Semitism with the reawakening of Wotan is a psychological subtlety that may perhaps be worth mentioning. I think that's very curious. And then the other part about how Jews dominate another's creation but are unlikely to revolutionize that creation, where Europeans are more likely to be inventors, cultural artists, but they're also more likely to be psychopaths and drug addicts. I think that's interesting because I think it was Camille Paglia who was saying that that creativity and like creation and culture and civilization is a man thing because there's no female Mozart because there's no female Jack the Ripper. That the idea of like imagination and artistry of that level is an absolute mania. Like it's like a psychological, like crazy wind spirit horse that happens, and that tends on the bell curve to women stay in the middle. I don't know. I think that's interesting. I think it's very interesting. Anyways, I need to go. I love you all so much. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Okay.